Hi there, everybody. Today we are going to talk about the High Priestess card in the tarot and ways to interpret it both upright and also in reverse. They have several different samples of High Priestess cards from several different decks. If you haven't already, I would suggest that you read my beginner tarot reading video. I don't remember even what I've titled it as, some kind of basic guide or something. Anyway, I'll put up one of the squares at the end of the video will be a link to that. And that kind of tells you how to read intuitively without necessarily knowing all the details about a card. But for this is just looking at some really basic information about the High Priestess card. And so High Priestess card is going to be number 2 on the Fool's Journey in the Major Arcana. And so this has a lot of symbolism for somebody who is intuitive. This can represent somebody who's intuitive, a seer, somebody who works with energy. This can also be somebody who does reiki or shamanistic type of person as well, can show up on this. She does talk about balancing, going back and forth between two worlds. We've got the black and the white. We've got the pure energy and the energy that is more negatively focused and represented there for that. We've also got the moon in the bottom, and it looks like that's water that talks about intuition, emotions, being able to reflect on those. We've got the Torah in her lap, just talks about knowing the secrets of the universe, as I like to say. And so whenever you have the High Priestess come up when she's right side up, it does talk about somebody who, like I said, could work with energy in a number of different ways. But this is somebody who also could be somebody who knows a secret, somebody who has a secret. This can also be somebody who seems a little distant, who seems a little bit cold. Sometimes I've heard the High Priestess referred to as the Ice Queen. I don't normally see that reading come up or that interpretation come up in most of my readings, but I have heard other people use that, and I like to be really open to how other people see different cards because it sort of expands my horizon, and that way it's just one more thing that when I'm looking at a card I can be open to what is it that it's meaning today. Because for me, a lot of times when I read the cards, not only do I count on knowing the basic knowledge of the card, but I also count on how that card feels to me. Is it a heavy feeling? Is it a light feeling? Does it feel like it's tainted with some other energy as well? That type of thing. But this is just really a very basic idea about the High Priestess, and then later we'll go into the High Priestess reversed to give you an idea. Of course, every deck that you have is going to have a little bit of a different slant on the perspective on each card and a little bit of a different flavor. So I like to give you guys all kinds of different samples of different decks, and sometimes I'll talk about different ways that I may see these. But this is my Russian Tarot of St. Petersburg. The last one was my Rider-Waite card, and this is very similar. You don't see the two different colored pillars, but she's got the Torah, and she actually looks a little bit more warm and friendly than our last High Priestess with the arm out like this. She also looks royal with that crown on her head. Now there is a crown on the other one's head, but this one, it just looks a little bit ornate and royal. So this would be, somebody who operates in that High Priestess energy who is well respected is what I would look at with this. So like I said, like I've said in some of my other videos, it's always good to have multiple decks, especially if you're reading professionally, so that you've got a different flavor for each person. Each deck is going to have a little bit of a different flavor. You want to get the flavor that is most appropriate for your querent, and you'll always know what that is because the deck that you want to use for that querent will call out to you when it's time to read for them. So this is my High Priestess in the Crystallis deck. She's called the Sorceress. I like her. I think she looks a lot like me, only maybe a little younger. You can see that she's got the cauldron there, which talks about magical type of work. She's got the crow or the raven there, which talks about going back and forth between worlds. She's got the head covering, which many times people who do energetic work will wear a head covering to protect their crown chakra. Not everybody believes in that, but quite a few do. So we've got a lot going on there that does imply, magic. You've even got the mushrooms, which a lot of people use mushrooms for spiritual experiences. Um, I'm not a big fan of that type of thing. I think it can alter your state of conscious without having something that is hallucinatory. I don't know if that's even a word. Put into your system. I like also on this card, there's the Northern Lights on the back. I personally got to witness the Northern Lights in Alaska, and I think they're just magical. I think it's just perfect that they would be on this card that speaks about working with energy. Lights are, a visual interpretation of energy. So anyway, I really like this card a lot. That's one of my favorite High Priestess cards out of the ones that I have. Well, you know what? I'm looking through these. I've got a lot of favorites. This is one of my other favorites. This is out of my Wildwood Tarot. And you can see there she's got the water, the reflecting thing that she can look into so she can use her clairvoyance. And she's got the feathers of owls and a cloak, which talks about wisdom. She's got the hood covering her crown chakra once again. And she, very much like the shaman in this deck or the magician, has indications of every single element in this card, just meaning that she's very much comfortable moving back and forth between elements and mixing and mingling elements and working with them. So not only is this card talking about somebody who works with energy, but is very comfortable as the alchemist is what's implied with this card as well. Also, if you notice, she's got the tree of life standing behind her. Lots of wisdom is implied in that. Wisdom and balance. Now, here's another one that I really like a lot. This is out of my Druidcraft Tarot. Once again, we have balance implied with the two snakes on the front of her tunic. We've got the moon showing up again, talking about intuition, empathy, paying attention to your feelings. She's got a book in front of her. This could be a lot of things. It doesn't look like the Torah having that star on the front of it, or maybe the Torah would have a star. But to me, I look at this and I think, is this notes on experiences that she's had that she can study to understand the spiritual world more easily? Is this herbal recipes for medicine? There's a lot of things that could be in that notebook. I would love to just flip it open and read it. But we've got her out in nature once again. And there's been, at least two of these have been out in nature where I really love that, being comfortable with the elements of nature. And of course we have the cat in the background. I don't know how easily you can see that on the camera. If I move it closer, we'll see if you can see the cat back there. Yep, there we go. So we've got the cat in the background looking on. And, cats do have a lot of mystical significance. So we've got the cat back there too. So really nice card. I love this card. Same thing this talks about, as the other High Priestess card would talk about. Talks about balance, talks about working with the spirit world and really empathy and emotions, especially with that water and the moon back there. It talks a lot about reflection. A lot of these are going to have the water and the moon, or the water or the moon, but usually they'll have both in them. This is my Medicine Woman Tarot deck. We've got the High Priestess here, aka the Seeker in this deck. She not only has the water and the moon, which the water near her is the water of a creek, flowing water, also implies cleansing, energetic cleansing, and physical cleansing. And she's still holding that mirror. So we've still got the idea of reflection here. But this is something that talks to me, at least, more about reflection and cleansing, self-work, inner work. cleansing ourselves of those things that are holding us back, those mindsets or paradigms that are holding us back, and really just reflecting on ourselves, doing that energetic work to improve ourselves, to go forward spiritually, to be more enlightened. And as the seeker, that's really appropriate for their interpretation of the high priestess. And when I found that whenever I have one interpretation of a high priestess or any card in one deck, sometimes that will flip-flop over into the other decks when necessary to get the message across. And for me, I feel things stronger than anything else. I also hear things and see things, but feeling is probably my strongest. And so for me, when I feel the card, I'll feel that energy that maybe is a little different flavor whenever that's appropriate for my querent or my sitter, whichever word you want to use. The next High Priestess card that we're looking at here is the from the Gilded Tarot, and I really like this. We've got the two pillars, although they're not different colors here, but that still implies balance. We have the owl actually flying across rather than the owl feathers in the Wildwood Tarot. It does talk about wisdom. The Torah is open on her lap. She's obviously paying attention to it, and it's being highlighted by Spirit. We've got the moon, different phases of the moon behind her, talking about astrology. So this is somebody who does understand some of the mysteries. She understands some things about astrology. She understands about the Torah. She probably also understands about the Kabbalah. So this is somebody who is very comfortable with the wisdoms that are needed to do energetic work. So very cool. Somebody, once again, who can hold secrets well. Somebody who maybe is not so talkative. A lot of times when you've got a High Priestess card, you are talking about somebody who can be a little bit introverted. A lot of times with a High Priestess card, this person has information and has access to information that not everybody does and not everybody understands, which makes many of these people quiet. They're not talking a lot about the things that they know because not everybody's able to accept or hear those. So a lot of times they're quiet. They're just watching and paying attention to what's going on around them. So my next High Priestess card is from the Good Tarot. You can see there's a lot of subtle imagery whenever we have this deck show up. We have the moon showing up in its different phases, once again, towards the bottom of the card. Stars coming around. There's a medallion over her third eye, kind of accentuating that there's information there. That's an important space for her. So, and then you've got wings showing off of the side of her head. Just the implication of being in touch with spirits other than the spirits that are embodying the physical bodies that we're used to seeing every day in our material world. All right, and then lastly, this is the High Priestess in the Tarot of the Golden Wheel. You can see there what she's got over her head. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I do take it as a type of shelter. I'm sure it's supposed to represent the two pillars, but to me this looks like she's being sheltered or shielded, protected some way by Spirit. She's holding up the keys to the kingdom. These are the keys to understanding how spirit world works. Once again, she's sitting out in nature. Yep. And she's got this, looks to me like an owl. It kind of looks like a falcon's roost, but she's got this owl right next to her showing wisdom. Also this wreath, laurel wreath, this talks about, being at the top of your game. I mean, this is the type of wreath that the Greeks used to put on their champions. So this is somebody who not only has the keys to the universe, so to speak, but this is somebody who is very good at what she does. Somebody who's psychic or energy worker who is really good at what she does. And also very sheltered, and probably sheltered because, she is doing the work of spirit, basically. And because she's doing the work of spirit, well, Spirit kind of looks out for her. Spirit has her back. And Spirit has everybody's back, in my opinion. But this is kind of showing that, this is kind of a depiction to me that says because this person is working directly with Spirit, there's certain protections that she would have that maybe not everybody else would exactly have. So like when you're giving a message or something, Spirit's going to protect that message. So you may be being protected if you're a high priestess, if you're a psychic, if you're an energy worker. You may be protected while you're working from getting distracted or from doing things that are not productive, or just from being misled. There's a certain amount of protection that comes into play when you're working so directly with Spirit, and that is very clearly depicted in this card with those two. They look like pieces of wood with the symbols on them overhead, and both of them have the infinity symbols, talking about not only being in touch with infinity, but being protected by the energies that are here for all infinity. So a really nice depiction. So any of these cards, you can look at these and you can see the basic meanings of the High Priestess, and then you can also see a little bit of a flavor of, okay, this is the leaning of the High Priestess that we're looking at, whether it's a psychic, whether it's an energy worker, whether it's talking about you picking up on your own psychic abilities, or whether it's talking about just having secrets and keeping secrets. All right? So when we look at this card reversed, for me, this card reversed usually has one meaning, although there is another meaning as well. The meaning I typically see on a card when I've got the High Priestess reversed is confusion, utmost and utter confusion. So when the High Priestess is up right side up, she has wisdom. She understands things. When she's upside down, she's confused. She doesn't know up from down. And I see this a lot of times manifesting in situations. This card will show up where somebody is totally confused about a situation in their love life. Maybe somebody is telling them one thing and acting like another, and so they're not sure how they should be handling this or what direction they should go. Maybe there's stuff going on at work. There's things going on behind the scenes that she has a sense of, because remember, she's the High Priestess. So maybe my parent has a sense of things going on behind the scenes at work, but nobody's really saying it, so it's making her feel confused because she feels like acting on what she knows is going on at that intuitive level, but on the upfront level, what everybody's fronting is not the same, and so that can have you really confused. Now, the other way that this can come in is that, and honestly, I've never seen it in a reading, but Spirit's nudging me to point this out to you. If this is reversed, this could be talking about somebody who is using black magic, what I call black magic. For me, the definition of black magic is magic that interferes with somebody else's free will. So for me, I'm all for using magic that improves something about me, that adjusts something about me and puts me in better shape. If I have a client who wants to do something to be put in better shape, like if I have a client who wants Reiki because they're not feeling very good lately, then I'm going to use that Reiki for them to help them to feel better. So that would be what I would consider white magic, because it's dealing with intentions for myself or the intention for the client, which is for themselves. Now, to me, black magic is like, say that I would have a client that's really got a huge crush on somebody. Maybe they've dated for a few years, and now this person has moved on. This person, let's say this person really did them dirty and moved on with somebody else. And now the client comes to me and they say, you know what? I want to have Reiki to have this person come back to me so that we can reunite. Well, now we're interfering with that other person's free will. We're not just doing things to change myself or yourself. We're doing something to change somebody else that doesn't even know. We're doing something to change them. So that's where I consider black magic. That's what crosses the line for me, is black magic. So when you have something like this show up, in a reading, this can talk about somebody using black magic or somebody doing some kind of energy work, one way or the other, that is going to interfere with free will. You can see this if it comes up that there's somebody that is doing energy work to interfere with your free will, or this can come up if there's somebody interfering and sending energy to interfere with somebody else's free will that we're asking about that would be significant in your life. That can show up as well. So I don't, like I said, I really don't see this meaning show up all that often on a reversed. Usually what I see is just somebody that's really confused. Really confused. And usually that's why they're coming to me for a reading, is because they are really confused. But it can also be if somebody is trying to operate black magic. It can even be talking about somebody in front of me who's been trying to operate black magic. A lot of times people don't think about the moral consequences of whatever magic they might use, whether it's energy work, candle work, whatever, and they don't think about the idea that, well, I'm interfering with this other person's free will, and the Creator gave us all free will. I'm tampering with this gift that the Creator gave this other person. There are repercussions for that. And so sometimes I can talk to people who are my querents who have had energy work done or who have done energy work to get somebody else to change. Well, that's black magic, and there are consequences for that. And so this card coming in reverse could actually even talk about my client at some point. I haven't had it yet, but at some point this could be a card that would talk about my client doing black magic on somebody else, or somebody doing black magic on them, just depending how it feels whenever it shows up. So, you want to pay attention to how these things feel as to which way they run. Here's the thing. There's a lot of people out there who they'll say, energies are reversible. No, I'm sorry. Energies are not reversible. It's your job as the reader to figure out which way that energy is going and let your sitter know that, or let your querent know that. Energies are reversible is about the biggest cop-out that I've ever heard, because it basically says, I don't know who I'm reading about right now. I don't know if I'm reading about you or your person of interest. Well, what good are you? How helpful is that? Not very. So, as somebody who is reading the cards, it is our job to know which way is this energy going. And all we have to do is feel it and ask around, ask Spirit to show us, and we'll know which way the energy is going. Energy should never, ever, ever be reversible. That's confusing, and that defeats the whole point of getting a reading. You're getting a reading for clarity. If you're just more confused after you start the reading than before you did, then you're defeating your own purpose. And if you're trying to read, if you're an aspiring reader, I am going to encourage you, please do not follow the example of these readers out here on YouTube that say, oh, energy is reversible, it can go both ways. That is not quality. That is not quality. And anybody that I mentor, I'm not teaching them that. I am not teaching them that. I'm going to teach them same thing I'm telling you. Find out which way that energy is running. That's your job as a reader, to know which way that energy is running. That is not your sitter's job to figure out what you're talking about. It's your job. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to get off of my soapbox, and I hope that you find this helpful. Thank you for being here.